We're drowning in a culture of endless hustle. Busyness gets equated with worth, and that frantic pace leaves so many of us feeling depleted, unfulfilled. The ancient Stoics proposed a different path, a radically different one. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, he wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. It's not a call to work harder, it's a call to focus deeper. The true Stoic secret to productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing less of everything that doesn't matter. This video explores that paradox, Stoic wisdom, how practicing intentional limitation, sharp discernment, inner focus, how that can unlock greater accomplishment. We'll go virtues, practical exercises. They're designed to clear the clutter, to conserve your vital energy, to direct it with precision. By the end, you'll have a framework, a way to escape burnout, to build a life of meaningful achievement. How did a philosophy of restraint become a blueprint for effectiveness? Unparalleled effectiveness. What does it mean to accomplish more by choosing to do less, consciously choosing? And where does your current effort create the most noise but yield the least signal? Before you do anything, you need to know what to leave out. Any real accomplishment starts in your head, not with your hands. The Stoics knew this. They had a name for it, the Discipline of Assent. It's the first filter you put on everything you experience. Your mind is like a door, and all day, impressions are trying to get through. A bad news story, something someone said, that feeling when you see someone else doing well. The discipline is standing at that door. You look at each thing before you let it in. You ask, is this true? Is it useful? Is it something I can control? If it's not, you don't let it in. You just let it go by. That's where clarity comes from. Epictetus taught this. He was a philosopher and he'd been a slave. He said people aren't upset by events, but by their opinions about them. The thing itself is neutral. It's your quick, automatic agreement with a bad interpretation that causes the trouble. It takes your energy before you've even started. Think about now. You're hit with information all the time. The news needs you to feel urgency. Social media runs on comparison. Every alert is an impression asking you to agree. To believe everything's falling apart, to believe you're not enough, to believe you have to respond right now. Using this filter isn't ignoring reality. It's choosing your reality. You see the headline, but you don't agree with the fear. You see someone's perfect life online, but you don't agree with the story that you're lacking. You save a huge amount of mental space just by not engaging with what isn't true or helpful. The energy you save gets used for something else. It becomes the fuel for what you actually need to do. So here's something to try from Epictetus. For one day, watch for one impression that usually takes you over. Maybe it's anxiety about a meeting later. Or anger in traffic. When it comes up, stop, don't go with it. Just watch it and ask, is this completely accurate? Is my instant reaction helping me? Asking those questions starts to change your mind's defaults. You get more done by first letting less in. Clarity is just the start. The second idea is ownership. How much of your day is spent trying to manage things that were never yours to manage? The Stoics had a word for this wisdom, oikeiosis, appropriation. Knowing what is truly your own, it's the skill of drawing that line, a bright line between what is up to you and what is not, your choices, your judgments, your effort. Those are yours, the outcome of those choices, other people's reactions, your reputation, the past. Those are not. Exhaustion doesn't come from hard work on things you control. It comes from that frantic effort, the draining effort of trying to manage everything you cannot. You prepare for a presentation, but you spend the night worrying if the audience will like it. That worry is effort spent on an external. You apply for a job, but you fixate on the hiring manager's unknown mood. That fixation is energy poured into a sphere that is not yours. Epictetus starts his handbook with this line: "Some things are within our power, others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion. Whatever is of our own doing, not within our power are our body, property, reputation, office. Whatever is not of our own doing, the practice is to catch yourself. To catch yourself in the act of misplacing your effort. You are not responsible for the outcome of the interview. You are 100% responsible for your preparation. You are not responsible for the traffic. You are completely responsible for your patience and for leaving earlier next time. Focus all your energy on your own doing. The quality of your work, the integrity of your attempt, let everything else go. It was never your burden to carry. This is how you accomplish more by doing less. You stop doing the work of the universe. You stop trying to force external results. You invest solely in your own sphere. And the paradox is that this focused investment often improves the external result anyway. But that's a bonus, not the goal. The goal is to act with excellence on what is yours. So try this. Take a moment. List 3 things you are striving for right now. Next to each one, write down what part of that striving is truly within your control. Is it your practice, your study, your honest communication? And what part are you anxiously trying to control that simply is not yours? The recognition alone begins to redirect a tremendous amount of wasted energy. The Stoics had this idea about comfort. They didn't think of it as a goal. More like a trap. That's the third principle, voluntary discomfort. You choose to do with less on purpose. It's training. It builds resilience from the inside. Seneca wrote about this. He was incredibly wealthy, one of the richest men in Rome, and still he would set his wealth aside sometimes, sleep on a hard bed, wear simple clothes, eat plain food for days. His friends thought it was strange, but for Seneca it was a test of his own freedom. He wanted to prove something to himself. That his peace didn't depend on a soft mattress or a fancy meal. He was strengthening his ability to be content with enough. It wasn't about suffering. It was about removing a dependency. Any comfort you rely on too much becomes a weakness. If you can only work in perfect silence, you've given control of your focus away. If you think you need a certain coffee to start the day, your mood depends on a drink. Voluntary discomfort breaks those chains. It proves you're more adaptable than your circumstances. So what's the modern version? It's like Seneca's hard bed, fasting from devices for an afternoon, eating simple food for a day instead of chasing constant stimulation. Taking the stairs, sitting with a minor inconvenience without complaining. Each small act sends a message to your nervous system. You're saying, I am okay without that. My stability comes from within. This frees up mental bandwidth. When you're not always seeking the next comfort or distraction, your mind settles. It saves the energy usually spent on craving. That energy becomes available, your focus deepens, your patience grows, your capacity to handle real hardship gets stronger. So here's a challenge. Pick one comfort to go without. For a set time, a day, maybe social media, sugary snacks, streaming, constant background noise. Go without it, not with resentment but curiosity. Watch what happens. You might feel a restless itch, that's the dependency talking, and then see what emerges in the quiet space left behind. You might find a clarity, a calm, that all the comfort in the world could never buy. The Stoics found peace by preparing for setbacks, not just hoping things would go well. That's the fourth principle, Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of troubles. It sounds dark, but it's a source of calm. It's not dwelling on fear. It's taking the unknown future and making it known in your mind ahead of time. You walk through the possible challenges. You see them clearly, and that drains their power to shock you. When the obstacle arrives, it's not a catastrophe. It's the scenario you rehearsed. Your response is ready. No panic, no wasted motion, just action. Seneca wrote about this. He said to foresee all possibilities. Let nothing take you by surprise. Send your thoughts ahead to meet the troubles that might come. That doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you prepared. It's the difference between someone terrified of a power outage and someone who has a flashlight and candles already in the drawer. The event is the same. The experience is worlds apart. Think of a project plan. Instead of just mapping the ideal path to success, you take 10 minutes to ask what could go wrong. Maybe a key person gets sick. Maybe a supplier is late. Maybe you misinterpret the request. By walking through these mental scenarios, you create simpler contingency plans. You don't need 10 backup plans for everything. You just need one clear, adaptable response for the most likely hurdles. This strips away complexity born from last-minute panic. You do less frantic problem solving in the moment because you already did the calm thinking beforehand. You can apply this to the smallest parts of your day. A common frustration, the traffic jam on your commute, or a critical comment from a colleague. Right now, while you're calm, mentally rehearse it, see it happening. Then decide in advance what your calm response will be. In traffic, it might be to listen to an audiobook you enjoy and accept the delay without letting it touch your mood. For the critical comment, it might be to pause, consider if there's any useful feedback in it, and respond with clarity rather than reaction. By preparing the response, you own the situation. The event no longer owns you. This is the calm of prepared minimalism. Your mind isn't cluttered with 100 anxious what-ifs. It's furnished with a few well-considered "therefore I will do this." You accomplish more with less effort because you're not starting from scratch in a storm. You're following a path you already laid out in the clear weather of your own mind. The struggle is often in the surprise. Remove the surprise and what's left is just work, and work you can handle. Every limitation you face might actually be the shape of your potential. That's the fifth Stoic principle, Amor Fati, the love of fate. It's not passive. It's an active, creative embrace of everything that happens, especially the difficult parts. The art is to see the obstacle not as something to rage against, but as the raw material you are meant to build with. All that energy spent resenting a circumstance, wishing it were different, fighting the reality of it, that's pure waste. Amor Fati asks you to stop wasting it, to take that same energy and channel it into crafting something within the new boundaries you've been given. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire in constant turmoil, wrote this to himself. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it. See your obstacle as fuel. Let it feed the fire of your purpose, not smother it. His mindset wasn't, "Why is this happening to me?" It was, "This is happening, so what virtue can I now practice?" Patience, courage, ingenuity. The limitation itself becomes the invitation to a specific kind of strength. Think of an artist who chooses to paint only with shades of blue. That limitation doesn't stifle creativity, it ignites it. It forces a deeper exploration of texture, light, and form within a defined space. Or a writer working against a tight, immovable deadline. That pressure strips away the luxury of endless revision and forces decisive, clear prose. The constraint is the creative engine. In your own life, a limited budget forces smarter financial choices. A sudden change of plans demands agile thinking. A physical challenge invites innovation in how you move through the world. The setback is the setup. The practice is to look at any situation and ask, not "How do I remove this?" but "How can I use this? How does this very thing become an advantage?" A noisy work environment becomes a test of your concentration, making your focus muscles stronger. A project delay becomes gifted time for more thorough preparation. Even a personal loss, while deeply felt, can become the soil for greater compassion and a clarified sense of what truly matters. You stop fighting the grain of the wood and start carving with it. So here's a quiet challenge. Identify one current limitation in your life. It might be a lack of a certain resource, a time constraint, a skill you haven't yet mastered. Now brainstorm just one way this limitation could be leveraged. Could that lack of funds inspire a simpler, more sustainable approach? Could that tight schedule force you to prioritize only the essential tasks, making you ruthlessly efficient? When you frame it this way, the wall becomes part of the path, and in that shift you accomplish more not by breaking through, but by building with what is already there. The sixth practice is about stepping back. It's called the view from above. You pull your awareness out. You see your city as a speck, your country as a shape. The planet becomes this pale blue dot. You see the sweep of human history, generations coming and going, their triumphs, their conflicts, just quiet stories now. From there, you look at what's bothering you, that email, the social slight from yesterday, the minor setback that feels like a catastrophe. They don't disappear. But they're placed into a context, a vast context, and it changes their texture. They become small, manageable pieces of a much larger picture. Marcus Aurelius used this constantly. Ruling an empire meant conspiracies, wars, endless petitions, personal betrayals. To keep his balance, he'd write reminders. He'd say, think of the substance of the universe. How all things are swiftly changing, how short a time is given to each. Look at the past, the great upheavals of empires. From that, you can foresee the future. He wasn't trying to feel insignificant. He was after a different kind of significance. By seeing the pettiness of so much strife, he could see clearly what was actually worth his limited energy, his limited attention. This view isn't about nihilism, it's about clarity. It strips away the ego's self-importance. What's left, what endures, your character, your contributions to others, the quality of your moments, those things remain meaningful at any scale. You can apply this to any stress that feels oversized. Take a work conflict, a disagreement where you feel disrespected. Your heart races, your mind rehearses arguments. Now perform the meditation. See the building from a satellite's view. The city as a grid of lights. Pull back further to the curve of the planet spinning in the dark. In 100 years, what will remain of this specific tension? Very likely nothing, but what will remain is how you chose to act within it. Did you act with fairness, with patience, that choice, that fragment of your character? That's what the cosmic perspective highlights. The problem itself shrinks. Your agency within it comes into sharp, quiet focus. So here's a brief practice. A moment of mental travel. Think of one current worry, a financial concern, a relational friction, a fear about an upcoming event. Hold it in your mind for a second. Now consciously expand your perspective. Picture your street, then your town, the continent, the whole earth hanging in the black silence of space. Consider the thousands of years of human history before you. The unknown span that will follow. From here, look back at your worry. Does its size change? Does its grip loosen? The goal isn't to dismiss your life. It's to frame it, to see your brief, precious time against the backdrop of eternity, and to ask with new eyes, what within this small, bright point of my existence is truly worthy of my care? For a Stoic, what matters is the character of an action, not the volume. That's the seventh principle, the discipline of action. It's the last filter. You've cleared your mind, you've focused your effort, and now you ask, is this motion I'm about to make actually good? Does it come from virtue or from something else? Mindless activity fills a calendar, but it empties the soul. True action, Stoic action, is defined by its intent to contribute to something larger than yourself. It's measured by its alignment with wisdom, courage, justice, moderation, not by how many boxes you tick. Marcus Aurelius kept reminding himself of this. He wrote that you can commit injustice by doing nothing, but the flip side is also true. You can create just noise by doing everything. He urged himself to make sure every action was worthy of a rational being, aimed at the common good. For an emperor, that meant his decrees, his judgments, his leadership. For you, it means your work, your conversations, how you spend a quiet evening. The question shifts. It's not am I busy? It's is this right? Look at the modern workplace. It's easy to confuse motion with action. Sending 50 quick, templated emails feels like productivity. It creates a satisfying flurry, but it's often just motion, noise. Contrast that with one 20-minute call, where you listen deeply, understand a colleague's real obstacle, and offer genuine help. That is action. It has character. It stems from the virtue of justice, treating another person with respect, seeking a fair outcome. The first approach burns energy and leaves little trace. The second, though it looks smaller on a to-do list, moves something real. So much of what we call work is motion, driven by vanity, the desire to be seen as busy, or by fear, the anxiety that if we stop, we'll fall behind. Stoic action asks you to strip that away, to act from a place of principle. Writing a report becomes an exercise in wisdom, conveying truth clearly. Having a difficult conversation becomes a practice in courage, speaking honestly with kindness. Choosing to rest when you're exhausted becomes an act of moderation, honoring your limits so you can contribute again tomorrow. Each action, no matter how small, is an opportunity to build your character. There's a simple exercise. Take your current to-do list, or just think about what you plan to do today. Look at each item. Next to it, write one of two labels. Is this a virtuous action? Does it align with a core value, helping others, creating something of quality, learning, caring for your well-being? Or is it mere motion? Is it something you're doing out of habit to look productive, to avoid a more meaningful but challenging task? You don't necessarily have to stop all the motion items, but seeing them for what they are changes your relationship to them. It lets you consciously choose where to invest the weight of your intention. You start to accomplish more by ensuring less of your effort is wasted on empty gestures. You build a life where your actions, however few, have roots. Time is the one thing you can't get back. The Stoics thought about that constantly. They had a phrase for it, Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. It sounds harsh, but they didn't think of it as grim. They thought it was clarifying, like a lens that sharpens everything. When you accept that your days are finite, it becomes a filter. It cuts through putting things off. It quiets the noise of what doesn't matter. It asks one question of everything you might do. Does this matter given the time I have? Seneca wrote about this. He said the problem isn't that life is short, but that we waste so much of it. Life is long enough if you use it well. He saw people filling their days with empty busyness, chasing status, holding onto grudges, seeking pleasures that left them feeling hollow. He called it being busy but poor in spirit. Remembering death isn't about fear. It's about love, loving the time you actually have. It creates a kind of urgency, but a calm one, not panic but decisiveness. It gives you the courage to say no. Because saying no to one thing is saying yes to something else. Think of an hourglass. The sand only goes one way. You can't flip it over. Seeing that changes how you spend each grain. You wouldn't use that sand to build a castle the tide will take. You'd use it to carve a message, to build something real, to learn something true. That's the shift. It moves you from planning to doing, from someday to today, because someday is just an assumption. There's a simple exercise for this. Write your own eulogy. Not in a morbid way, but an honest one. Imagine what someone who really knew you would say. What kind of person would they describe? What small contributions would they remember? What relationships felt deeper because of you? It's not about big achievements. It's about the quality of your presence, the legacy of your ordinary days. Writing it down makes things clear. It shows you the space between the life you have and the life you want to be remembered for. And in that space, you find what you actually need to do. So here's a question. If you knew for sure you had one healthy year left, what 3 things would you stop doing immediately? What habits, what commitments, what thoughts would you drop? And then what 3 things would you start? What conversations would you have? What project would you begin? What small daily practice would you take on? Your answers are a compass. They point straight to what's essential for you now. And the Stoic point is this: you might have more than a year, but you don't have forever. Acting on that is how you do more by doing less. You just stop doing everything that isn't on that short, vital list. Ambition as a separate struggle, that's one way to see it. But there's this Stoic idea, Sympatheia. It's the sense that everything is connected, a single living system. You, your community, nature, the cosmos. All threads in the same fabric, and when you really see that, your purpose gets simpler. It's not about chasing scattered goals for yourself anymore. It becomes about finding your way to contribute, to fit into the whole. Your effort gains direction because it's flowing with a larger pattern, not fighting against it in some isolated sprint. Marcus Aurelius kept coming back to this. He wrote reminders to himself. What brings you joy? The sense of acting in harmony, because we're made for cooperation, like hands, like feet. He saw himself as a citizen of the world, part of a vast social body, a cosmic body. His duty was to that body. That perspective stripped away the petty politics, the personal slights. It answered the question, what should I do, with something clear: serve the whole, act for the common benefit. Think of a single cell in your body. It has a specific function. It doesn't fret about being the heart. It just performs its role, and by doing that, it sustains the whole organism. Its purpose is clean, defined by its contribution. Sympatheia asks you to see yourself as that cell, in the larger body of humanity, of life itself. That doesn't diminish your importance, it clarifies it. It relieves you of the burden of inventing a purpose from scratch. Your purpose is already written into your connection to others. Practically, how does that simplify things? Take a career choice. Without this lens, you're weighing salary, title, prestige, a complex matrix of selfish interests. But through interconnectedness, you add one filter. Which path lets me contribute my best to the wider community? That can simplify a confusing decision. The high-paying job that exploits others loses its shine. The modest position that helps people solve real problems gains a pull. Your effort becomes focused, less scattered, because it's aligned with something bigger than your ego or your weekly routine. You might volunteer out of obligation, just ticking a box, but reframe it through Sympatheia. That hour at the community garden isn't a chore. It's your direct contribution to the health of your local ecosystem, your neighbors. That shift turns motion into meaningful action. It fills the effort with a sense of place, of belonging. So here's a quiet prompt. Look at one regular activity in your life. Your work, a hobby, how you interact with your family. Ask, how could I adjust this even slightly to better serve a wider circle than just myself? Could that work project be approached with more collaboration? Could that hobby skill be shared to teach someone else? The adjustment might be small, but the recognition behind it changes everything. It weaves your thread more consciously into the larger tapestry. And in doing that, it simplifies your entire reason for getting up in the morning. Your mind is like a city, and the gate is your attention. What gets in changes what's inside. The Stoics had this idea of an inner citadel. It's a fortress, but not made of stone. It's built from your choices, from your character. Its strength doesn't come from adding more. It comes from letting less in. The real work is exclusion. You step back from useless arguments, from empty pursuits, from all that noise about what other people think. You pull your energy back from the outer walls to strengthen what's at the center. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He said people go looking for retreats in the countryside, by the sea, up in the mountains. But that's missing the point. You can retreat into yourself at any time. Nowhere is quieter or more untroubled than your own mind. That citadel is always there, but only if you've kept it clear. The training is in guarding the gates. Every impression, every piece of news, every comment someone makes, it comes to the gate. You're the sentry. You ask, does this help my character? Does it make my wisdom stronger, my courage, my sense of justice, my self-control? If it doesn't, you don't let it in. You let it pass by outside the walls where it can't touch your peace. This is how doing less outside gets more done inside. You save all the energy you'd usually spend reacting, defending, managing opinions. That saved energy becomes the stuff you build inner strength with. One way to keep the citadel is a daily check. Just a few minutes in the evening, sit quietly and look back at the day's traffic. Which thoughts did you let in that, now that you think about it, weren't on your side? Maybe it was a flash of resentment over something small, or a visit from envy while you were scrolling, or a trivial want for something you don't need. Pick one, see it clearly as an uninvited guest that's moved into your space. Your job isn't to fight it, it's to calmly, firmly show it out, acknowledge it's there, see why it doesn't belong, and walk it back to the gate. That simple act of cleaning strengthens your control over your own mind. So consider this. What's one uninvited guest in your citadel today? Is it a worry about something you can't control? An old argument playing again, that quiet sound of comparing your path to someone else's. Name it, see it for what it is, a thought that weakens your fortress, not a truth that defines it. By choosing to evict that one guest, you do the real work of fortification. You build a deep inner security by doing the one necessary thing, guarding the gate. A calm response in a crisis looks effortless, but it's never an accident. The Stoic who seems to do less when the storm hits, they spent a lifetime preparing for it. That's the paradox. It's not frantic last-minute action. It's the quiet, daily cultivation of character. So when the test arrives, you're already ready. Your response is simple, precise, effective, because it flows from a deep well of practiced virtue, not from a panicked scramble. You do less in the moment because you've done the real work over time. Take two people facing the same sudden setback. One has never examined their patience, their courage, their capacity to adapt. Their mind is a cluttered room. When the crisis comes, they have to clear a space just to think. Their effort is chaotic, excessive, often misdirected. They're doing a lot, but very little of it is useful. The other person has trained their character through small daily choices. They've practiced returning to calm after minor irritations. They've rehearsed making clear decisions under slight pressure. So when the larger challenge arrives, they don't need to learn how to be patient on the spot. They just access what's already there. Their action is minimal. Targeted, powerful, Seneca touched on the core of this. He said we suffer more in imagination than in reality. An unprepared mind is a factory of imagined catastrophes. It spins endless stories of what could go wrong. Each one feeds anxiety, drains energy. Preparation, the Stoic kind, works by reducing that imagined suffering. By thinking through challenges beforehand, by strengthening your virtues daily, you shrink the monster of the unknown down to a manageable size. The event itself might still be difficult. But the paralyzing fear is gone. You've already met it in your mind. You decided who you will be when it appears. Think of an elite athlete on game day. The performance looks like a burst of intense, focused action, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. What you don't see are the thousands of hours. The low-key, repetitive daily drills, the careful nutrition, the sleep discipline, the mental visualization. The game itself requires less frantic doing because the athlete's entire system is prepared. The body knows the motions, the mind is trained for pressure. The work was done in the quiet gym, not in the roaring stadium. Your character is no different. Patience is a muscle, courage is a skill. You train them not in grand gestures, but in small daily reps. Taking a deep breath instead of snapping at a minor inconvenience, that's a rep for patience. Voicing a respectful but unpopular opinion in a meeting, that's a rep for courage. Turning off a distraction to finish a meaningful task, that's a rep for self-discipline. Each one seems insignificant, but collectively they forge a resilience. It operates automatically when you need it most. So here's a question. What one aspect of your character would most change your responses to life's inevitable tests? Is it patience, so delays don't derail your peace? Is it courage, so necessary conversations aren't avoided? Is it the discipline to focus on what you can control? Once you name it, your training plan becomes simple. Look for one small, almost invisible opportunity today to practice it. Let that be your quiet preparation. The day may come when a great challenge demands that virtue, and you'll find, to your own surprise, that you are ready. Not because you did a heroic amount in the moment, but because you did the essential little things every day before it. We measure our lives wrong. We count tasks, goals, possessions. The Stoics had a different scorecard. They called it Eudaimonia, not fleeting happiness, human flourishing, a deep well-being from living as you're meant to, a rational social being. It's a state of being, not a tally. That's the 12th principle. It redefines more. To accomplish more, in their sense, isn't about external accumulation. It's cultivating inner peace, integrity, wisdom. Your metric shifts from what you have to who you're becoming. Stoic ethics rests here. The philosophers were clear. Virtue, excellence of character, is the only true good. Everything else, wealth, health, reputation, they called preferred or dispreferred indifference. They have value, but they're not the point. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, the fruit of this life is a good character and acts for the common good. That's the harvest. Not a bigger title or a fuller bank account, but the quality of your soul and your contribution. When that's your target, your relationship with action changes. You start doing less of what doesn't serve that flourishing, almost automatically. Think of 2 workdays. The first uses the standard metric. The goal is to clear the inbox, finish the report, check every box. You might succeed, but at a cost. You snap at a colleague to hit a deadline. You cut a corner on quality. You end the day exhausted, having moved many things but feeling hollow. The second uses Eudaimonia as the metric. The goal isn't just to do the tasks, but to do them with virtue. With wisdom in planning, justice in interactions, courage in tackling the hard part, moderation in managing your energy. You may complete fewer items, but each action carried weight. It strengthened your character. It likely served others better. Which day was truly more accomplishment? The frantic one that left frayed connections, or the focused one that left you and others feeling more whole? This shift is practical. It simplifies decisions. Faced with an opportunity, you don't just ask if it brings money or fame. You ask if it lets you practice patience, generosity, honest craftsmanship. If the answer is no, it loses its allure. You shed commitments that are merely impressive for ones that are meaningful. The noise falls away. You have a clearer signal. So here's a quiet prompt. Take a moment. Write down your personal definition of a good day. Be honest. Is it a list of completed chores and crossed-off tasks? Or is it a description of a state? Maybe it's a day you felt present with family, a day you handled frustration with grace, a day you learned something new or helped someone without expectation. Emphasize the qualities calm, kindness, focus, resilience over the quantities of output. That list you just made, that's your new compass. That's what more looks like when you measure it by the only metric that, in the end, truly lasts. Seneca talked about the tongue, about how dangerous it can be, and the power in holding back. He saw this urge to fill every quiet moment as a kind of leak. A steady drain, draining your energy, your peace. In one letter, he tells a friend we're often hurt more by what we say ourselves than by what others say. It's not just about saying the wrong thing. It's about the amount, the sheer volume of what isn't needed. Every word is a commitment, a piece of your attention, your inner quiet given away. So the Stoic approach is to treat speech like a resource, finite, powerful, to be spent only on what's true, what's necessary, what's kind. Anything else is waste. And usually, talking too much comes from discomfort. We narrate to cover an awkward pause. We give opinions no one asked for to prove we matter. We gossip to feel connected or superior. We debate to win, not to learn. Each one is the ego asserting itself, and each one creates complications. Words said in haste need to be clarified. Promises made lightly become burdens. Opinions tossed out carelessly start conflicts, and then those conflicts demand more energy to fix. It's a cycle, noise creating more noise. Strategic silence breaks that. It's not passive, it's a conscious withdrawal. You pull your energy back from the external theater of conversation. You let it settle inside. That creates space. Space to observe, to actually listen, to understand the situation before you even decide if your words are needed. You learn more by saying less because you're finally paying attention. Think about a normal discussion. Someone is sharing a problem. Often, we aren't really listening to them. We're listening for a pause, a place to insert our own story, our advice, our solution. Our mind is busy building a response while they're still talking. The Stoic exercise flips that. Go into your next conversation with one intent: to listen fully. To understand the other person's meaning, their emotion, what they aren't saying. Suspend your own internal commentary. Don't prepare your reply while they speak. Let there be a real, comfortable silence after they finish. Then, and only then, ask yourself if a response is necessary, and if it is, let it be measured. True, useful. You'll find many conversations need far less from you than you thought. Your presence alone becomes a gift, and you save an immense amount of energy. Mental energy, emotional energy. So a practical challenge: try a silence hour, not total muteness, but a period of heightened discernment. For 1 hour, consciously avoid offering any opinion that wasn't asked for. Refrain from trivial talk, from gossip. Don't fill silences just to ease your own discomfort. Just be present. Listen, watch the impulse to speak as it comes up, and question where it's from. Is this coming from a desire to contribute or a need to be seen? You might feel a surprising sense of calm, of control. The world doesn't fall apart when you stop narrating it. In fact, it often becomes clearer, quieter, far more intelligible when you're not constantly adding your own commentary to the mix. The mind has its limits. Wisdom isn't about filling a library. It's a tool you keep sharp. That's the 14th principle: contemplative study, not consumptive learning. It's a vital distinction. A Stoic is a practitioner of wisdom, not a collector. They're not after more information just to have it. They're interested in the transformation, the change that comes from knowing a few essential truths deeply. The goal is to internalize a principle so fully it starts to think through you. It guides your reactions before you even remember it consciously. That kind of knowing, it doesn't come from skimming. It comes from repetition, from sitting with an idea until it becomes part of the landscape of your mind. The Stoics showed this themselves. They didn't chase new philosophies every week. They returned over and over to the core of their tradition. Epictetus, who taught in Greece, he never wrote a book. His student Arion recorded his insights. That's the discourses, and those weren't polished essays. They were living conversations, repeated lessons, driven home through constant dialogue, through real application with his students. The wisdom was in the returning, in re-examining the same fundamental points from different angles in different contexts. It was depth that built character. Not novelty. Now consider the modern way. We have endless streams of content, podcasts, articles, videos, summaries of summaries. It creates a feeling of motion. Like we're learning something new every hour, but it's often just consumption, not comprehension. The information is fleeting. It passes through the mind without leaving a mark. Without changing how we live, it becomes clutter. The Stoic method is the antidote. You choose one source, one passage, and you go deep. Instead of starting your day skimming 20 headlines, each one designed to provoke a reaction, try reading one passage from Marcus Aurelius. Just a few lines, read it slowly, then close the book, carry that single thought with you. Let it be the lens for your day, for your interactions, your challenges, the quiet moments. How does that idea about accepting what you can't control play out when your train is delayed? How does that reminder on acting justly inform a small decision at work? That's contemplative study. You're not gathering data, you're training your perception. So here's a prompt. Look back on the ideas we've gone through. Choose one Stoic quote or principle that resonated. Maybe Marcus on Amor Fati, or Epictetus on what's within our power. Commit to living with that single idea for a week. Write it down, put it where you'll see it. Each morning, read it. Each evening, ask one simple question. Where did I see this principle at play today? You're not testing for success or failure. You're practicing observation, letting one clear, ancient signal cut through the daily noise. In that focused repetition, you might find a single sentence, truly understood, does more than 1,000 pages merely read. A cluttered mind can't see the path ahead. The Stoics saw that. They knew yesterday's thoughts, the small regrets, the leftover tensions, they become baggage for today. So they built a tool to leave that weight behind, a nightly audit, a simple check to stop yesterday's clutter from poisoning tomorrow. They called it the evening review. Mental housekeeping. It wasn't about dwelling, it was about clearing the desk of your mind so you could start the next day with a clean slate, with focus. Seneca wrote about this. He described how he'd end his day. He'd go to a quiet space. He'd ask his soul questions. How did I act today? Did anger take control? Was I wasteful? Did I contribute anything of value? He called it examining his entire day, going back over what he did and said. He wasn't looking to punish himself. He was looking for patterns, for the small slips, the places where his character veered off course, so he could correct it gently before it hardened into a habit. That brief reflection stopped things. It prevented the slow pile up of unresolved regrets. It kept minor errors from fossilizing, from becoming major flaws. Think of it like a workshop. If you never clean it, sawdust piles up, tools get lost. You end up spending all your time searching, clearing instead of creating. The evening review is that daily sweep. It takes a few minutes, but it means you can start your real work tomorrow without first having to dig through yesterday's mess. It turns clutter into lessons. The practice is simple. You can do it in silence or jot a few notes. Ask 3 questions. First, what did I do well today? Where did I act with patience or courage or kindness, even in a small way? This isn't vanity. It's recognizing what virtue feels like in action, so you can strengthen that pattern. Second, where did I act contrary to virtue? Did I speak harshly from irritation? Did I avoid a necessary task out of fear? See it without drama, just note it. Like a gardener spotting a weed, the third question is the important one. What will I do differently tomorrow? This is where observation becomes resolution. Not a grand vow, a specific, small adjustment. If you were impatient in a long line, your resolution might be to carry a book or to practice just watching your surroundings. Without judgment, the power is in the calm observation. This isn't self-criticism. It's a dispassionate review, like a craftsman checking the day's work. You're not the failure you're examining. You're the observer learning from it. This gentle process dissolves guilt, because guilt is just a lesson you refuse to learn. When you learn the lesson, the guilt has no purpose. It evaporates. So here's an invitation. Try this 3-question review for 3 nights. Let it be the last thing you do before sleep. Don't focus on judging your day. Focus on understanding it, on pulling out one clear insight, something that makes tomorrow slightly clearer, slightly lighter. You might find this small act of evening closure is the most productive thing you do. It does more for your peace and your purpose by doing less, by carrying less unresolved weight from one day into the next. The last filter is the one that really frees you up. It's the line between what you do and what happens after. The Stoics had a term for this: preferred indifference. Things like health, wealth, reputation, they're called preferred because of course you'd choose them, but they're indifferent. They aren't good in themselves. They don't define your moral worth. They don't determine whether you can live a good life. You can't stake your happiness on them. The idea is to pursue them with a light touch. You do your part, you act with excellence, and then you let the result go. It was never yours to command. That detachment from the outcome, it frees up so much energy. Energy usually spent on anxiety, on forcing things, on clinging. And that energy goes back into the one thing you actually own, the quality of your effort. The Stoic position is clear. The only true good is virtue, excellence of character. Everything else is an indifferent. It's the material we work with, the circumstances we navigate, but it's not the score. Epictetus used the analogy of a game. He said, in a game, the ball is indifferent. What's good or bad is how you play. You can be skilled and still lose the point, or you can be clumsy and win by luck. The wise person focuses on their skill, their form, their strategy. They play the game well. The final score, it's noted, but it doesn't define the player. Your effort is your domain. The outcome belongs to the world. Take a creative project. An artist pours their heart into a painting. The Stoic approach would ask them to focus everything on the integrity of the process. The choice of color, the honesty of the expression, the craft in each brushstroke, that's their sphere. The painting's reception, its sales, the critical acclaim, those are preferred indifference. They would be nice, but they're external. To tie your piece to them is to hand over the keys to your inner citadel to a fickle crowd. The artist who gets this can work with a profound calm. They're free to create, not to please, and often that freedom produces the most resonant work. So here's a quiet exercise. Pick a current goal, something you're striving for. Now take a mental sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left, write my effort. List what's truly 100% within your control. Your preparation, your practice, your diligence, your attitude, your ethical choices. On the right, write the outcome. List what's not within your control. The final decision of others, market trends, sheer luck, timing, public opinion. Look at the two lists. Your job, your source of pride and peace, is only the left column. The right column is just data, information to adapt to, not a verdict on your worth. When you make this separation, you might feel a weight lift. The goal hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has. You're no longer trying to control the uncontrollable. You're just committing to do your part and to meet whatever result comes with the same clear-eyed readiness. Anger is a luxury. A purposeful mind can't afford it. Your energy is a finite currency. Every outburst, every simmering resentment, it's a massive withdrawal. And what does it buy? Clouded judgment, damaged relationships, your body flooded with stress. The Stoics saw this. They didn't see anger as righteous or powerful. They saw it as a failure of reason, a temporary madness. Seneca called it that. He wrote a full treatise on it. He argued it's the most destructive passion. The most hideous because it turns you against yourself first. That vital force you have, it could go into creation, into clear thinking. Instead, it gets burned up. A blaze that leaves nothing but ashes. The practice is to reframe every provocation. It's not a personal insult, not something delivered by a malicious universe. It's either a misunderstanding or a test of your principles. Your job isn't to match the fire, it's to offer a calm correction, or to simply observe and move on. Conserve your energy for what truly matters. The toll is immense, that rush of heat, the clenched jaw, the racing heart. It's your body preparing for a fight. A fight that almost never needs to happen. It spends resources wildly. It leaves you exhausted over something that, in an hour, you'll likely see as trivial. Foresight is the antidote. If you can see the cost ahead of time, the trigger becomes a warning sign. a sign to engage your understanding, not your temper. Take a modern trigger, rude or aggressive driving. The automatic story is, that person disrespected me, they cut me off, they are a bad person. That story demands an emotional payment. You might yell, you might gesture, let it ruin your mood for miles. The Stoic reframe is to see it as an external event, caused entirely by the other driver's internal state. Their rush, their frustration, their lack of awareness, it requires no emotional expenditure from you. It's just data, a piece of information about road conditions. You can note it calmly, adjust for safety, let it pass. Your peace remains intact. Your energy is preserved for your actual destination. So here's a practical challenge. For one full day, treat every potential anger trigger as a piece of data, not a personal attack. The slow line at the coffee shop, the curt email, the noisy neighbor. See each one as an event. Ask, what is actually happening here? What part of this is within my control? Is my anger going to improve this situation in any lasting way? You might find that most of the time, the only thing your anger controls is you. And by choosing not to spend that coin, you end the day far richer, in the only currency that counts, your own calm, focused vitality. A calm mind sees the path a storm of emotion cannot. That's the 18th principle, Cultivating Apatheia. It's a word that gets misunderstood. Stoic apatheia isn't apathy. It isn't feeling nothing, it's freedom. It's freedom from being swept away by those irrational, turbulent passions, the ones that hijack your attention and drain your effort. It's a state of calm equanimity where your reason is in command, and from that quiet center, your actions become clear. They become effective, unwasted. Think of two kinds of action. One is scattered, reactive. It's driven by a spike of fear or a flush of greed or a gnawing craving. It's frantic. It seeks immediate relief from a feeling, not a lasting solution. The other action is directed. It comes from a tranquil mind that has assessed the situation. It moves with purpose toward a real goal, not just away from a temporary discomfort. The first burns fuel wildly and goes in circles. The second conserves energy and moves forward. This freedom was a central goal of Stoic training. Epictetus put it plainly. He said, "Do not be carried away by the vividness of the impression." He said, "Impression, wait for me a little. Let me see what you are and what you represent. Let me test you." That pause, that space between the feeling and your agreement with it, that's where apatheia is built. You stop the feeling from becoming the commander. Consider a practical example from investing. One investor is driven by the passions of the market. They see a price plummet and feel a visceral fear of loss. That fear screams at them to sell, to cut the pain, so they act. Later, they see a price skyrocket and feel a greedy craving to get in, to not miss out. They act again. Their portfolio becomes a record of their emotional reactions, not a rational strategy. They are doing a lot but accomplishing little. The other investor cultivates apatheia. They feel the same market movements, the same initial jolt of fear, the same flicker of greed arises, but they have trained for that moment. They apply the pause, they examine the impression. Is this fear based on a fundamental change in the company's value, or just on a number on a screen? They let the feeling subside, then they consult their principles, their analysis, their long-term plan. Their action or their deliberate inaction comes from that calm analysis. Their effort is minimal, precise, and over time vastly more effective. So here's a simple observational task. The next time a strong emotion arises in you, frustration, anxiety, envy, excitement, make a quiet note. Don't judge it, just watch what happens next. How does that emotion affect the clarity of your next thought? Does it make your subsequent action efficient and purposeful, or rushed and scattered? The observation itself begins to create that vital space Epictetus described. You start to see the emotion as weather passing through the sky of your mind, not as a directive you must obey. And in that seeing, you reclaim the energy those storms once stole. Principle 19 is the practice of poverty. It's not about real deprivation. It's a voluntary experiment. You live for a short time as if you have very little, and the goal is proof, experiential proof. You prove it to your nervous system, not just your intellect. That happiness isn't inside your possessions. This practice shrinks the mountain of desire, turns it into a manageable hill. It frees up the immense effort you spend chasing things, acquiring them, maintaining things you don't truly need. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus taught that the body needs little. It's the mind that creates endless wants. He argued that practicing with less makes you stronger, not weaker. It trains you to find contentment within the boundaries of what you already have. Seneca, even with his wealth, echoed this. He warned that wealth is a master as much as a servant. It demands protection. It invites envy. It chains you to its upkeep. The practice of poverty, even briefly, shows you the weight of those chains by letting you feel what it's like to set them down. Consider a practical experiment. A poverty weekend. It's a conscious simplification. For 2 days, you eat simple, nourishing food you prepare yourself. You limit entertainment to a book, a walk, a conversation. You use only what you need. The point isn't to suffer. It's to observe, to notice the quiet that arrives when the noise of consumption stops. You might feel a restlessness at first, a boredom that usually sends you scrolling or shopping. You sit with that feeling. It's the echo of a habit, not a real need. Then, often, something else emerges. A clarity, an appreciation for the warmth of a blanket, the taste of water, the light through a window. You experience abundance through a conscious lack. You prove that your baseline for contentment is far lower than your shopping habits suggest, and far more accessible. This reflection leads to a powerful list. Not a list of what you want to get, but of what you already have effortlessly. Take a moment. List 5 non-material things you are grateful for that require no acquisition. Your health on a good day, the loyalty of a friend, the feeling of sunlight on your skin, the capacity to learn, the quiet peace of a morning before the day begins. This list costs nothing to maintain. It cannot be taken from you in any meaningful way, and focusing on it recalibrates your sense of wealth. It turns your energy away from the exhausting labor of getting more, and toward the quiet joy of noticing what is already abundantly here. The future is built brick by brick right now. You have to place this brick perfectly. That's the 20th principle. It's the Mosaic of Mastery. Your life isn't one big sculpture you carve all at once. It's a mosaic, a big picture made from thousands of tiny tiles. And each tile is a present moment. It's a single action done with your full attention. The whole image, the quality of it, depends on how you place each small piece. Right now, anxiety about the future, regret about the past, they're not just feelings. They're thieves. They steal the attention and the energy that's meant for the tile you're actually holding. They pull your focus away from the only place where you can ever build anything. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of running an empire, kept coming back to this. He wrote that you should confine yourself to the present. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, what you say, what you think. That wasn't morbid, it was practical. The present duty is the only thing that ever exists. The past is a memory. The future is a projection. This moment, this task, is the only arena where your will meets the world and leaves a mark. Think of it as conserving energy. When your mind is split between the work in front of you and a worry about next week's meeting, you're doing 2 things poorly. You're doing the present task with half your capacity, and you're worrying about a future you can't affect yet. Both efforts get diluted. They're ineffective. The Stoic method is to collapse your world down to the single point of action in front of you. You give it everything. Then, when it's done, you move cleanly to the next point. That's how a mosaic gets built. not by obsessing over the final picture while your hand trembles, but by placing one perfect tile, then another. Take a mundane chore. Washing dishes, usually you rush through it. You see it as an obstacle between you and the next thing. Your body's at the sink, but your mind is already on the couch, or planning tomorrow, or replaying some conversation. You're elsewhere. The Stoic practice is to bring your mind home, to the feel of the warm water, to the sight of the soap bubbles, to the simple, rhythmic motion of cleaning. You perform the act of washing dishes with the same focus you'd give a sacred ritual, and in that act, you're not just cleaning plates, you're training your mind to inhabit the present. You're strengthening the muscle of undivided attention. The chore becomes a gym for your focus, and the quality of that focused moment, that well-placed tile, is its own reward. It builds a life not of frantic achievement, but of deep, moment-to-moment mastery. So here's an experiment. Today, pick one routine activity. It could be making your bed, folding laundry, drinking your morning tea, walking to your car. Perform that one activity with your complete, undivided attention. Don't let your mind leap ahead or drift behind. If it does, gently guide it back to the sensations of the task, the texture, the sound, the motion. For those few minutes, let the whole universe be that single, well-executed action. Notice what happens. Notice the quality of the experience and the quiet state of your mind afterward. That's the feeling of placing one perfect brick. The Stoics had a guide for all those choices. They called it the logos, which was this rational, interconnected nature of the universe. Not a distant God, but a principle of order and reason in everything. A kind of living, intelligent fabric connecting all beings. To live well was to live in harmony with that logos, to align your own reason with that universal reason. This idea, the law of nature, it simplifies everything. It cuts through the noise, all the opinions, the social pressures, the personal fears. Your moral compass becomes one clear question. Is this action reasonable, and does it serve the common good? Marcus Aurelius kept coming back to this. He wrote that what's not good for the hive isn't good for the bee. Your nature is tied to the nature of the whole. To go against that is to tear at the fabric you're part of. He saw his own reason as just a fragment of the universal mind. His duty was to keep that fragment pure, aligned, directed toward the benefit of the whole hive. That perspective, it shrinks dilemmas down. You're not navigating a maze of shifting cultural norms. You're consulting a fixed star. Does this choice align with reason? Does it contribute to the interconnected whole? The answers might be hard, but the process is simple. Take a modern crossroads like a career change. The conventional questions are a tangled web. Which path has more prestige, better security? What will my family think? What if I fail? The noise is overwhelming. Now apply the Stoic test. First, reason. Is this move a rational use of your capacities? Does it let you exercise wisdom to grow, to create value in a way that feels true to your nature? Second, the common good. Does this role contribute to the wider community? Does it solve a real problem, help real people, add something of value? The questions that remain are profound, but they're clean. They strip away the superficial layers, the fear and the vanity. You're left with the core of the decision, a decision you can make with clarity, even if it's hard. So here's a quiet moment. Bring to mind a current ethical quandary you're facing. It might be small, a truth that's hard to tell, a resource you're unsure how to share. Or it might be large, a life direction. Hold that dilemma lightly. Now ask the two-part question. Does the most reasonable path forward, the one that honors your capacity for clear thought, point a certain way? And does that path feel like it contributes to the good of the wider circle you're part of, rather than taking from it? The harmony or discord you feel answering that, it's not just emotion. It's your fragment of the logos, your piece of universal reason communicating. Learning to listen to that signal is how you navigate complexity with a quiet, unshakable simplicity. Polishing that image is a full-time job. Hours of your life spent managing a reflection you can't control. The 22nd principle is rejecting vanity. It's choosing to ignore the mirror of opinion, to stop adjusting your posture for the shifting faces in a crowd. For a Stoic, this isn't about rudeness, it's about reclaiming energy, a staggering amount of energy spent on something impossible. You can't control what others think. You can only control your own actions, your own intentions. Tying your peace to their approval is handing them a remote control for your inner state. And they will press every button, often without knowing. Epictetus understood this. He began his life as property owned by another. He taught that your reputation is outside your sphere of control. It's an external, he said. If anyone tells you a person speaks ill of you, don't make excuses. Answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, otherwise he wouldn't have mentioned just these. That's a complete reframe. It decouples your self-assessment from theirs. It places the value back on your own character, your own knowledge of your faults. The effort you save is immense. No more rehearsing conversations to sound clever. No more tailoring your interests. No more anxiety after a meeting, wondering if you were impressive enough. That mental space becomes quiet territory, open, ready for real work, for deep thought. Consider the modern mirror, social media. Crafting a post for maximum likes is an exercise in vanity. You're sculpting a persona for consumption. You choose the angle, the filter, the caption for applause. You hit share and then you check and you check again. Your mood ties to a number. Your creative energy funnels into performance. Now imagine sharing something because it felt true, because it was beautiful or funny to you. You share it and then you close the app. You go about your day. You don't check the metrics. The value was in the sharing, in the act of expression. The external reaction is data, not a verdict. One path is a constant effort to manage an illusion. The other is a simple act of integrity. The freedom is in letting go. So a challenge for the week: commit to one action you believe is right but normally avoid from fear of opinion. It doesn't have to be grand. It might be voicing a contrary, respectful view. It might be wearing something you enjoy that isn't in style. It might be admitting you don't know something instead of pretending. Perform the action. And then consciously, do not seek the reaction. Let the act be its own complete statement. Notice the quiet strength that remains where your anxiety about their judgment used to live. The ultimate wealth isn't about getting everything you want. It's about wanting very little. That's the Stoic reframing of success. It's a quiet revolution against your own dissatisfaction. The 23rd principle is the mastery of desire, and it's not about suppressing every want. It's about examining them, holding each one up to the light of reason. Asking a simple question: is this desire natural and necessary, or is it artificial and superfluous? The first kind of desire is for food when you're hungry, for shelter, for connection, for the chance to learn and contribute. These are aligned with your nature as a living, social, rational being. They are finite. They can be met. The second kind is endless. It's the conditioned wanting, the desire for a newer version of what you already have, for admiration from people you don't respect, for experiences you're told you should crave. This wanting is a bottomless pit. You can pour your entire life into it, and it will never signal that you've arrived. Stoicism teaches you to master desire by learning to tell the difference, to prune the second kind, so the first kind can be met with genuine appreciation. Epictetus drew this line with clarity. He spoke of natural desires, like the body's need for nourishment and rest, and he spoke of unnatural desires, empty desires rooted in opinion and social convention. The key, he taught, is to bring every impulse under scrutiny. Before you chase something, ask, what is the nature of this wanting? If I satisfy it, will I be more at peace, or will it just create a new, more refined desire? The goal is to reach a state where your happiness is no longer hostage to the next acquisition. Look at consumer culture. It's a masterclass in cultivating the second kind of desire. A phone that works perfectly becomes old the moment a new model is announced. The subtle message is that your contentment is one purchase away, but it never is. The upgrade arrives, and for a brief moment there's a thrill. Then it becomes the new normal. The baseline resets, and the eye wanders to the next release. The Stoic practice interrupts this cycle. You look at your functional phone. You acknowledge it meets the natural need. For communication, for information, the desire for the newer one is examined. Is it for a tangible improvement in a necessary function, or is it for the feeling of being current, of status, of novelty? Seeing it clearly often drains its power. You find a surprising contentment with the tool you have, the energy you save, the mental energy of comparison, the financial energy of earning for the purchase, the physical energy of managing more stuff. That energy is now yours. It becomes a form of having more. So here is a quiet challenge. Conduct a brief desire audit. Think of the last few things you bought or the current wishes on your mind. It could be a piece of clothing, a tech gadget, a vacation, even a career title. For each one, gently label it. Is this desire natural and necessary? Does it serve a basic need for well-being, growth, or genuine connection? Or is it conditioned and superfluous? Is it driven by comparison, by advertising, by a story you've been told about what a successful life looks like? You don't have to act on the labels. Just observe them. The act of observation itself begins the mastery. It creates a space between the wanting and you, and in that space you find a freedom that no purchase can ever provide. A book on courage is useless if it leaves you unchanged when you're afraid. That was the Stoic position. Philosophy wasn't a subject to study, it was a craft to live. The 24th principle erases that line between thinking and doing. It says wisdom has no value until it moves from your mind into your hands, into your choices. The measure of understanding is transformation. This unity means you spend less time in abstract debate and more time in the quiet, daily workshop of your own character. Where real change is forged, the Hellenistic schools shared this belief. Philosophy was therapy for the soul, a practical art for navigating human existence. Epictetus, the former slave-turned-teacher, was famously impatient with students who treated it as an intellectual game. He would chide them. He said, "You are like someone who reads a manual on how to play the lyre but never actually picks up the instrument. You can quote the philosophers, but if you haven't absorbed their teachings into your nerve and bone, what good is it?" The goal wasn't to sound wise in conversation. It was to be wise in the marketplace, in the home, under pressure. Think of the modern parallel of self-help. It's easy to fall into a cycle of consumption. Reading book after book, listening to podcast after podcast, collecting insights like stamps. There's a feeling of motion, of progress. But if the information never translates into a changed habit, a calmer reaction, a more courageous decision, it's just noise. It's intellectual clutter. Now picture a different approach. Someone selects a single, powerful Stoic principle, the dichotomy of control. They commit to applying it, and only it, for one full month. They don't read anything new about it, they just use it in traffic, at work, in family tensions. Every time frustration arises, they ask the filter, "Is this within my control?" If not, they practice letting the emotional charge go. They redirect their effort solely to their own response. After 30 days of this applied repetition, the principle is no longer something they know. It's something they are. It operates automatically. That is the unity of philosophy and life. The effort is integrated, seamless, and profoundly efficient. So here is a question, a quiet prompt to make this all real. What is one Stoic idea from this exploration that you can stop just knowing and start doing today? Not tomorrow, not after one more book, choose one. Perhaps it is the evening review to clear yesterday's clutter, or the discipline of assent at the gate of your mind. Or simply the practice of asking before you speak if your words are true and necessary. Pick your one thing, and let your understanding of it be proven not by your ability to explain it, but by the quality of your next action, your next quiet moment of patience, your next deliberate choice. That is where the theory ends and the life begins. A tree doesn't try to produce fruit in winter. It holds its energy back, the sap pulling inward, waiting for the sun. That's not failure, it's alignment. The 25th principle is accepting cycles. The Stoics saw that everything moves in rhythms. Day becomes night. Summer becomes autumn. Growth is followed by decay, and then decay is followed by renewal. To fight that tide is to exhaust yourself against something much larger than your will. Real accomplishment isn't about pushing against these rhythms. It's about flowing with them, working with nature, not against your own nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this constant change. He saw it in the seasons, in cities rising and falling, in the stages of a human life. He tried to think of the universe as one living being, with one substance and one soul. To see how all things are created, and then how all things are dissolved. His aim was to align his own small rhythms with that large, turning wheel, to accept the time of dissolution as necessary for the next creation. Modern hustle culture acts like these cycles don't exist. It wants perpetual summer, an endless, frantic production of fruit, but a person isn't a machine. Your energy, your creativity, your focus, they have tides. There are hours in the day when your mind is sharp and other hours when it needs to drift. There are weeks of high productivity and seasons where your inner landscape feels quiet, fallow. Forcing output during a natural low is like shouting into a storm. You waste your voice, your left horse. The Stoic way is to observe these personal seasons without judging them, to plan your sowing and your reaping in harmony with them. Take a work week. You might notice your concentration is deepest in the quiet morning hours. That's your personal spring. That's when you schedule your most demanding creative work. The afternoon slump, that slow, heavy feeling, that's your inner summer turning toward evening. That's the time for administrative tasks, for routine, for maintenance. Not for breaking new ground. Fighting that slump with more caffeine and grit is a violation of your nature. It leads to shallow, burned-out work that you'll have to redo later. Deliberate rest fits into this cycle. True rest isn't laziness, it's the essential winter. It's the period when the soil of your mind recovers, when the insights you gathered in the busy seasons have time to compost, to break down and recombine into something new. By honoring a real period of restoration, you make sure the spring that follows is fertile, not forced. So here's an invitation. For the next few days, just watch your own rhythms. Without trying to change anything, just notice. When does your energy feel most vibrant? When does it naturally ebb? Is there a weekly pattern, a monthly one? Then, with the kindness you'd show a seedling, try to plan one important task to align with your high tide. And during your low tide, give yourself permission to do replenishing, simple work, or to rest honestly without guilt. You're not a factory ignoring its maintenance schedule. You're a natural system. Your greatest power comes when you cooperate with your own design. Purpose can seem like this one big mountain you have to climb. But the Stoics, they saw it differently. They saw it as a path of simple duties. That's the 26th principle, the clarity of simple duties. It's often called role ethics. The idea is you don't have one grand purpose. You have multiple roles. You're a citizen, you're a family member, a friend, a worker, a neighbor, and each of these relationships, they come with basic duties. Your purpose in any moment is just to fulfill the duty of the role you're in, and to do it well. It turns that huge question about life's meaning into a checklist for today. It focuses your effort on what's concrete, what's present, not something abstract and far off. Epictetus wrote about this. He said, "Consider who you are. First, a human being. That means you have the duties of a rational, social creature. But then get specific. You're a son or a daughter. That role has duties. You're a member of a community. That role has duties." He taught that confusion comes when we forget our roles, when we try to act from some blurry sense of self. The clarity comes from asking, in this situation, what does my role require? Think about a normal, complicated day. You wake up. In your role as a person responsible for yourself, your duty is to care for your health. That might mean a good breakfast, a moment of quiet, then you go to work. In your role as a colleague, your duty is to be cooperative, reliable, to contribute your skill. Not to be the star, but to fulfill the basic function of a good team member. Later, you come home. In your role as a family member, your duty is to be present. To listen, to offer support. Each role has a simple, actionable core. And when you focus on doing that duty well, you're living with purpose. You don't need to search for it. It's woven into the relationships you already have. This framework cuts through the noise. You're not staring at a blank canvas wondering what to paint. You're looking at a set of well-defined tasks. Each one is meaningful because it sustains a part of the whole you belong to. Your energy isn't wasted on wondering what you should do with your life. It's channeled into doing what's right in front of you, for the people right beside you. So here's a quiet exercise. Take a moment. List your 3 core roles in life right now. Not job titles, but relational roles. Maybe it's parent, community volunteer, and mentor, or friend, student, and caretaker. For each of these 3 roles, write down one simple, actionable duty. Something you can focus on tomorrow. For a parent, the duty might be to have one screen-free, engaged conversation with your child. For a citizen, it might be to inform yourself about one local issue. For a worker, it might be to complete one task with thorough attention. That's your checklist, not for changing the world in a day, but for living your purpose within it. One clear, manageable duty at a time. A general doesn't fight every skirmish. He pulls his forces back, regroups on higher ground. The 27th principle is strategic withdrawal. It's not defeat, it's a choice to retreat from chaotic situations, from gossip, from arguments that go nowhere, to conserve your vital strength, to keep your perspective. So you can advance later on your own terms. A Stoic retreat is discipline. It comes from clarity, not fear. Marcus Aurelius wrote about retreating into yourself. He said nowhere was more peaceful than his own mind, but that inner place, you can only reach it if you withdraw from the noise first. Seneca said something similar. He told his friend to avoid the crowd, not from disliking people, but because the crowd scatters your attention. It pulls you into its rhythm of complaint, of competition. A strategic withdrawal is stepping out of that rhythm, reclaiming your own tempo. That's the difference between cowardice and wisdom. Cowardice is a reaction. It's driven by fear. It leaves you diminished. A wise retreat is proactive. It's a choice from strength. It leaves you whole. Your resources are intact for a more meaningful engagement later. Think of a modern battlefield, an online debate. The comments are heating up, positions harden into insults. You feel the pull to respond, to defend your point, to win. That engagement could cost you hours. It will cost you your peace. A strategic withdrawal is closing the tab. Physically stepping away, you're not conceding the argument, you're conceding the forum, that it's become a place where reason can't land. You preserve your mental energy. For a conversation that might actually bear fruit, or a gossip-filled conversation at work, the easy path is to stay, to listen, maybe add a remark. The strategic choice is a polite exit. You say, "I should get back to that report," or a gentle redirect. "I haven't spoken to them directly about that." You withdraw your participation. You protect your integrity. Your peace, you refuse to let someone else's drama become your distraction. The power is in the conscious choice. You're not fleeing, you're redeploying. So here's a quiet question. Look at your current landscape. Identify one situation, one recurring engagement, where a strategic withdrawal might be the wiser course. Is it a group chat that spirals into negativity? A family discussion that always follows the same unproductive pattern? A habit of reading comment sections that only stir frustration? Name it. Now consider what a conscious, graceful exit would look like. Not a dramatic slam of the door, a simple, calm step back. What strength would you conserve? What clarity might you find on that higher ground once you're no longer in the thick of the fray? The frantic pursuit of pleasure is a full-time job. It demands constant effort. You have to acquire the thing, experience the moment, capture the image, and then you start the hunt again for the next thrill. It's exhausting. The Stoics offered a different reward, one that required less chasing, more being. They called it Chara, a specific kind of joy, not a giddy, fleeting high. A deep, steady warmth. It arises as a natural byproduct of right action. It's the internal echo of virtue. This joy doesn't come from what you get. It comes from who you are in the moment of your choosing. It's the fruit that grows from the tree of good character. The Stoics are famous for teaching Apatheia, freedom from destructive passions, but they also describe this positive state. The quiet satisfaction of a clear conscience, the steady glow that follows an act of courage or generosity or simple honesty. This feeling is reliable. It's not subject to market crashes or social slights or the whims of others. It's a reward system you carry within you. It activates not when you consume, but when you contribute. Consider two experiences from a single day. The first is the buzz of an impulsive luxury purchase. There's a spike of excitement, a rush of novelty, but it's often followed by a subtle drop. A quiet question, was that it? And then, almost imperceptibly, the effort begins again. The maintenance of the new thing, the comparison to the next model. The slight fear of its loss, it's a pleasure that creates its own shadow of labor. Now picture the second experience. You help a colleague understand a difficult concept. Not for credit, but because it was the right thing to do. You listen fully to a friend in distress, offering no solution, just presence. You choose integrity in a small, unseen moment when cutting a corner would have been easier. Afterward, there's no spike, no dramatic rush. Instead, there's a quiet, pervasive sense of solidity, a feeling that your inner world is in order. That is Chara. It requires no upkeep, it asks for no more effort. It simply is, and it conserves your energy because it turns your focus from acquiring satisfaction to embodying it. This joy makes the frantic hunt for external pleasures seem not just unnecessary but draining. Why chase 100 flickering candles when you can tend the one steady flame within? So take a quiet moment, look back over your recent days. Can you recall a time you acted with integrity, even if it was difficult? Maybe you told a hard truth. Maybe you walked away from a petty argument. Maybe you completed a task with care, even though no one was watching. Try to reconnect with the feeling that followed. Not pride, not boastfulness, that simple, solid sense of alignment. That is the Stoic reward. It's always available, and it costs nothing but the courage to act as the person you wish to be. Impatience is violence against time. It wants the river to move faster. It wants the tree to give fruit in a day. But patience is the opposite. It's a Stoic virtue. It's an active restraint. It's powerful. The 29th principle is the long view. It's the wisdom to let a process take the time it needs, to put your effort in line with natural rhythms. Not against them. That patience saves energy. It saves the energy you waste on forced action, action that's too early. It's like pushing on a door that says pull. Patience isn't passive. It's not just waiting. It's an active discipline. It's trusting the growth and not digging up the seed every day to check the roots. Impatience feels like action. It feels like doing something. It's checking the email right after you send it. It's revising the plan again before it's had any time. It's pushing a relationship to resolve before the other person is ready. But that effort is wasted, it's squandered, and it leads to damaged results. Half-formed outcomes and a deep frustration that stays. You exhaust yourself. You're fighting the current of time itself. Stoic patience is alignment. It's understanding the universe operates on a scale, the logos, and that scale dwarfs our personal urgency. Marcus Aurelius had to cultivate this, managing the empire. He wrote reminders. He said to remember that what is measured cannot be hurried. He counseled patience, patience with the slow pace of reform, with the flaws in other people. With a tedious unfolding of events, his patience wasn't resignation, it was strategic. It was the power to conserve his will, to save it for the moments when it could actually change something. Think about learning a skill. You decide to learn a language. The impatient approach is the frantic cram before a trip. You buy all the apps. You study for hours in a burst. You burn out in a week. The effort is intense, but it can't last. The roots never take. The Stoic approach is patient. It's daily practice. It's 10 focused minutes in the morning. It's accepting you won't understand everything today. It's trusting that showing up consistently over months will build a foundation no cram session ever could. The first method feels like a lot of doing, but it accomplishes little. The second feels like less effort in the moment, but it accomplishes mastery. This applies to anything that grows. A creative project needs incubation time. A wound needs time to heal. A new idea needs silence to integrate. In these cases, impatience isn't just a feeling. It's a series of actions that interrupt the very process you're trying to complete. So here's a quiet prompt. Identify one area in your life right now where you feel that itch. That impatience, is it a professional goal you want achieved yesterday? A personal habit you're trying to change overnight? A relationship you wish would move faster? Name it this week. Consciously practice allowing it the necessary time. Don't push, don't force, just do the single, small, right thing for today, the thing that moves it forward. And then let the process work. Observe the difference in the quality of your effort and in the peace of your mind when you stop fighting the clock. And start cooperating with it. Stoic wisdom shows us something about achievement. It starts with all that noise, the hustle, the feeling that being busy means you matter. But it ends somewhere else, doing less the Stoic way. That's not about being lazy. It's a skill. It's subtracting things on purpose. You take away the clutter in your mind, the stuff that makes it hard to see clearly. You stop putting effort into things you can't control. You let go of the pursuits that just wear you out, all so you can hear one thing better, that one signal. Focused action that's good in itself. We covered ideas that build this kind of calm strength. There's the basic filter, the dichotomy of control. Drawing that line between what you do and what happens. There's the power of focusing on the present moment, just laying one brick perfectly. There's the freedom in mastering desire. Knowing what you actually need, not just what you've been taught to want. And there's the inner citadel, that fortress you build by being careful about what you let inside. Seneca wrote about the result of all this. He said tranquility comes from a mind that's in order, from judging each thing consistently and with certainty. It's putting your own happiness in your own hands. That order, you don't build it by adding more to your list. You build it by taking things away, by choosing every day to remove what isn't necessary. If this makes sense to you, the step to take is simple. Don't try to do everything at once. That's just more busyness. Look back instead. Pick one idea, maybe two, that stood out to you. It could be the evening review to clear out the day, or the discipline of assent at the gate of your mind, or just asking before you speak if your words are true and necessary and kind. Then commit to that one practice, live with it for a month. Let it change from something you understand to something you just do. Real accomplishment for a Stoic, it isn't about how much you're moving. It's measured in the depth of your character, in the quality of what you give to the world right around you. That's the old idea, doing less to actually do more.